Did you know that both of the major bridges in San Francisco opened within 6 months of each other? The Bay Bridge opened first in 1936, and just 6 months later, it was overshadowed by the opening of the Golden Gate Bridge, which is what we're going to talk about today. San Francisco is such a unique city, and its history is so interesting, but basically because of how San Francisco sits out on this peninsula, it made it pretty hard to get to in its early days. A lot of people would take the ferry, but there was talk about building bridges basically since the late 1800s. Engineering really wasn't there at that point, so it was really just a dream until the 1920s. But this strait of water called the Golden Gate Strait was going to be pretty difficult to build a bridge across. It gets really foggy and really windy out here, so the idea of building a bridge across this was kind of insane. So that, combined with political opposition as well as a lack of funding, it seemed like a bridge would never be built right here. But in 1923, residents of 6 separate counties came together to vote to approve financing for the Golden Gate Bridge. So this was the very first design for the Golden Gate Bridge, and people hated it. Luckily, they settled on the much more beautiful current design that we have. Construction began in 1933, and something that I found so interesting about this project is safety was a huge concern. It was common knowledge back then that big construction projects like this, you were gonna lose a few people. The main engineer of this project was very strict about safety. He installed these nets underneath the bridge to catch people if they fell, and that was really a revolutionary thing at the time. They also used a ton of safety equipment, which is probably pretty standard use today, but really wasn't back then. And they fired anyone who was caught not using the equipment or being otherwise dangerous. So the bridge opened in 1937, and it was an entire week-long celebration. This was the longest and tallest suspension bridge in the entire world when it opened. The color of the bridge is called International Orange, and they actually chose this color after doing a ton of different color studies to see what would look the best with its surroundings. This color was also chosen because it's very bright and easy to see for the ships, which was a concern since fog is so common. And fun fact, the US Navy actually wanted to paint the bridge yellow and black striped because they had a huge Navy base in San Francisco at the time, and they were really worried that people weren't going to be able to see it. So anyways, the day before the bridge opened, they allowed 200,000 people to walk or rollerblade across it. And then it was open to vehicle traffic the very next day. So yeah, that is the story of the Golden Gate Bridge, which just might be my favorite bridge in the entire world.